Good evening, this is John Lorena, and I will be demonstrating my final demo for IT202 project. This project I have chosen it was to do the simple arcade game that maintained a score and uploaded that score onto a table. So let's begin. First things first, I will be deploying it from Heroku. So I log into Heroku. I am deploying it from the main branch because that is where all the files are after merging them. Once it is successfully deployed, I click on view and it'll take me to this. First things first, we will enter the login PHP file, which is located under project. I already have it here. I had done prior testing before. And for new users, I will demonstrate to you how to register. You simply click on register. And let's say you have an email address of this. Then you want to type in a username followed by your password. And confirm the password by retyping it in. And here it will say registration successful. You may log in now. So we log in. But let's say you accidentally type in the wrong password. It should say the password is invalid, but instead it says passwords don't match. So that is an error on my part. So let's try this again, this time with the right password. It takes you to the welcome, to the home page with a nice welcome and a message saying that the login was successful. And here it would show you the top scores of the game that I was working on, but it came out a little iffy than I thought it would. So let's check out the profile. Just here, I didn't have time to implement the profile link onto this page. And you go here, and here it will show you the option to reset your password if you so desire. Just type in your current one, your new one, and then you confirm it at the end. Let's say I want to change my password to something else. Just type in my current password, then my new password, and confirm it. Now here it will say the password has been reset. So you go back to logged out, you type in your new password, and it brings you back in. And the page is specially coded to make sure no one can enter this page without logging in first. And for first timers, you must register and log in afterwards in order to access the home and the profile files. And because I created a new profile, I should see this update on the users table. And here we go. Yes, there he is. We have a multiple of people that are registered and have logged in recently. here. And here is how the profile page works itself. So we're retiring a the nav.php file, which is located in partials. That is the navigation file, which helps guide where the functions are going and where it would take the user should any of the prompts be met. Here we'll show you the this username exists, try another one. Is your username doesn't fit, that's not valid, so you have to try another one. You have to here I was attempting to display the scores on the profile page, but to no avail, as seen. And I could if I may say, I didn't get enough time to, I was time constrained on trying to get this implemented onto the profile page. I managed on the home page, but the profile, this is due to my lack of knowledge of PHP and familiarity with it. Here, it'll show you. Here, we have a statement that is preparing to select a password from users from in the ID column. Here we execute what we're trying to do here, and the result will be fetched by this command with a PDO fetch associate. And then we have our if statements, our query, our statement for databases. And then the password is always hashed because we don't want your password being shown out to the public that is private. If the password was reset, if the password was invalid, here is where we get our email, our username, and then the database where it's picking up the username that was created and it's sending it back into the table. And here is where we are delving deep into our password reset. Here we make sure that our current password is not preloaded into here, or else it will override it and it will cause an error. And then here for the new password, and then here's our function for the forms in order to make sure that the password is the same as the confirm password, and alerts if anything goes wrong. Then next I will be demonstrating on the demonstrate how the navigation PHP file works. So we have our domain, which is going to be connected to our server, which that server will host, and if the domain is valid, it'll connect. If not, it will not connect, and then it'll give me an error saying that the connection couldn't have been made. And then we're setting parameters for lifetime, for the path, for the domain, the HTTP only, and the same site. And this is also calling upon another PHP file known as functions in the library directory, because the functions is what helps give the navigation and the rest of the files the power to work on its domain. This is the stores table where the scores of the game I'm working on should be placed into, but due to time constraints, I was unable to implement the command that allows the game to input the stores into this table. here we have the user roles table where if we're given an ID, a role, and a reactive, and when it was created. This could be either for myself or any other users. And here is the regular roles table, which I can see that the first person here is an admin, and the other one could be either an elevated user or a super user, as mentioned, like an admin, or just a regular basic user with no superiority. This wasn't able to update like I had planned because I have made an error in the function in the file where it's supposed to implement the status of the user into the roles table. That is a mistake on my part due to time constraints, which I take full responsibility for. Here is the create competition PHP file, which allows me to create a competition and transfer all the information onto the competitions table if the users feel the need to play against each other for prizes. We have our code right here. The fee, the cost, the name of the competition, reward increase, the minimum number of participants, and what kind of payout if there's people in first and second or first, second, and third, and how long it'll last. The duration normally is under days, so under 3 days the tournament the competition will take place, and then the winners are decided. Unfortunately, I was unable to also implement any of the information into the competitions table, like then due to time constraints and lack of knowledge for in this portion of PHP. I will now attempt to access my arcade game from the project folder. Here we go, as it is named. And it'll take me to the screen, which will show the name of my arcade game, which is Snake. It'll give me two options, either for settings or for a new game. Let's go to settings first. And for settings, we have two options. We can choose what kind of speed do we want. Do we want it slow? Do you want it to be normal? Or do you want it like a little bit faster than usual? And then you have the option of turning off and on the wall, essentially, which allows you to move freely and maybe make the game a little bit more looser for you if you feel the need, if it's too hard for you with the wall on. So here is a quick demonstration of it. So we start off with this snake, and we use the arrow keys to move up and down. And as you can see, every single time I consume a square, my score increases along with the high score list, along with the high score on the left side, and it will maintain that as long as I keep adding a bigger score than the high score will always increment upwards. So let's say I will stop here at 6 points. It'll take me to a game over screen. You can either click on new game or press space to begin a new game. And the score is 6. The high score is 6. So let's try a new game. Let's see if I can beat this new high score. So before, my error in this code was that it was incrementing along with the store, and my mistake on that was making the high score equals 4 under the variable declaration, and it kept resetting the high score. And as you can see, without reaching the high score, the high score maintains itself there, and my score is below the high score, so it is not a new high score. So now we will attempt to break it this time. And as you can see, I have passed over 6, so now the new high score is 7. It is now 8. And the game will only end if you hit the wall, as clearly demonstrated, or this happens. You eat yourself. The game ends. Here is how the game is constructed. It is an HTML5 canvas game, and here it is an HTML based, and we always have our char set as WTF8 because that is the standard for HTML. Here we just have merely the aesthetics of the background, the color of the snake, the color of the borders. Here is just merely aesthetic. Here is where we have our screens. We have the game over screen where we can hover the mouse over, and it'll show the little arrow on the left side of either new game or settings. This is how the menu is designed, also aesthetics, as well as the game over screen, the settings. And here is where we get into a little bit more of the work here. Here we have the snake header, and the store will increase, will span, and here it really comes together. And here's a little explanation of what span does. The ID of the store value is the store, and anytime the snake eats a square, the score will go up. And as previously mentioned, if the high score is either below or exactly what the score is, then it will not increment unless the score is higher than high score. And as you can see here, here is where we declare the variables of the set function, like canvas, the context, the snake direction, where is it gonna turn next, the speed of it, the food, aka the squares that are all over the map. We have our score system, the high score system here, always declared at 0. My first mistake was not declaring it as 0, so therefore that's why it kept resetting itself into store. The wall to hold the barrier. Then for the screen snake, the menu, the game over, the buttons, the elevate score, which we will get into that in a minute. The same way kept store. These are the directions of each arrow key for the snake. If it'll go up, it'll go down, left or right. The food, yep, aka the squares. For any time a food is consumed, it'll increase the length of the snake, and the snake's length is initially at 0. And here is our for loop. We have our assignment, the condition, and then the increment. The operand, I meant to say. That was my fault. And here we have the functions of the variant of the variable of old score and new score. I say these because these are the ones that will increment the store. alt score, the function is calling the store val as previously mentioned above, and the ls underscore score dot inner HTML is pulling that store and maintaining it. Same thing for the high score, but it will only increment only if the score is above the high score. Here's our main loop. If the snake goes this way, if the snake goes the other direction, if you want the wall on, if you want the wall off, how it explains how it would look like if the wall is off, which I will demonstrate in a second. Here is the food system where we see the score increment. The alt is affected as well, and then you add a new square or food onto the map after one has been consumed. And here's my if statement where, as I was explaining earlier, if the score is higher than high score, then the high score becomes the current score. And the new game function, if there's a game over, it'll lead you right back into the new game where the score is reset to 0. It increments with the alt store. Here, I will demonstrate how it looks like with the wall off. You can see it changes color. It looks a little bit more different. And instead of losing like you normally would, it basically functions like a portal. If you enter from the top side, you come up the bottom side. If you enter the left side, as I shown before, you will come out on the right side. And that's how it is when you have no wall. The only real issue I had with this project is that I was unable to increment most of the needed assignments, like making the store increment, well, not increment, but be sent to the table so I can get the number of high scores of the week, of the month, or lifetime high scores. Since I was unable to do them due to time constraints, which, as I previously mentioned, and I will say again that I take full responsibility for my time constraints because they were on my end. And this is pretty much it, the demonstration of my snake game project. Thank you and have a good night.